Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Kim of Bluebird Legacy. Hey, I thought I'd come on here today, and my mojo is kind of lacking in the past couple days, and so I thought what we would do is I cleaned my studio to get started with trying to get some of that back. Did some contour studies and sketching, and so today what I did is I picked up all this when I cleaned my floor. I picked all these pieces, and we're going to do a collage. But I started spraying, and I hadn't had these out for a while. I've got this journal. Okay, if I close it, it's just a Ranger 5 by 8, something like that. Isn't that cool? What that does? It makes like a double ink blot or psychological testing. You're being tested. No, I'm just kidding. But let's, I don't have my heat gun out, so let's go ahead and put this aside, let this dry a little bit. And I've got another journal that I had started laying some stuff down on yesterday, hanging out. And so this is a book. A friend of mine had gotten it for me. It's got all those cutouts. It's like one of those just cutouts of all kind of things. And this one is all the natural world. So I cut these out some time ago. And I've got huge mushrooms, and I thought they would look really cool spread out with a collage. First we'll put some papers down, and this, I'll show you this book. If you have a book, just an old book, any book you like. I've been using this one for a lot of years. And I come to it, and then, and I did this little sketch the other day, my peony. So this book, let me show it to you. It was a biology book. Like, I put these stickers on here, just messing with it. But I put chemology for chemology on here just to be silly. But this book is a CRM book, Biology and Appreciation for Life. It's like a school book that somebody, they used back in the day. And I think it's, I was going to show you that. I think it's got a lot of cool photos in it. And if you find a book like this that you can collage in, you can, and this is just like an idea book for me. This is not any art that I would ever try to sell or any of that kind of stuff. It's just where I do ideas and fun stuff. See, this has a person's name in it when I bought it at some thrift random op shop, whatever. Kathy Hunter, Christmas of 77. So I'm sure it's got a copyright, but I might have torn it out or did something painted over it. But it's it's an old book. You can tell by what it talks about. 1972. Those are some of my stencil days years ago. I was playing with that. But I made a pocket in the front of it for my cutouts. I just glued a piece of paper in there and left it, open so that I can put stuff that I cut out. And there's a Tim Holtz older person, like vintage person. But I put some of my papers in there, and I'm saving, what have you. And then things, I was kind of working in this just a couple days ago, so there's not a whole bunch in there. I've taken it out. But let's use a page. Sorry for bumping that. Here's a girl study I did quite a while ago. Dance, feminine, artful. Just cut out from some catalog. I think this is Sundance. Different patterns I like, little paint. Just to get your inspiration going. Just to get you in the mood or warmed up to paint. Warmed up to collage. I'm not always vibed up. Like, I have to sometimes get in the mood to paint. And if I'm not in the mood to paint, then I don't. So I'm trying to be in the mood more so to paint. This like discover details or words I cut out. Like this, I put gesso down and just kept this because I love ships and sailing and water. And then here's a page, nothing. writing. I might, whatever. If I pick this up, then maybe I'll do something. This has got all kinds of, you know, different fungi. And so, yeah, we're working on mushrooms. And this would be a super cool page that I might do some of my mushrooms on. Because that's what it's talking about in the biology book. I wasn't necessarily going for what the book talks about, but I think it's kind of cool. And I'll look back on it later. Personally, I learn a lot about myself as I make art. I don't know if you're doing it for that, but I like self-discovery, and I find that making art is super filled with self-discovery. So I hope you find that you like it and you have a great book to put some stuff in. I think I want to leave those words showing and the pictures. I think I've had this book for probably 10 years. And I don't always feel like doing collage. I'm not a glue book as I see out there on the internet. I'm not one of those people that was really interested in doing that. But for me, a lot of times getting my inspiration to paint will come from starting a collage. And the way I'm putting these mushrooms down is not the typical way that I collage. I'll generally just do like a masterboard or just fill up the whole thing. Once I get going, I then don't want to stop usually. Just tearing papers and gluing it. And I'm just using an old, you know, gift card thing. But if you have a spreader of some sort, even a piece of cardboard will do this and make everything flat. So yeah, and over here, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll show you this angle. This book's kind of big. It says fungi. So I'm going to put this one over here. And we'll move on. Once I see something. This is a lot of what this is that was on my floor in my studio was fabric, because I'd done some quilting, I'd done some stitching and piecing with a machine, and I don't, when I'm doing that, I'm just flinging fabric everywhere. Anytime I create, generally, unless I have this camera turned on and I'm videotaping, I'm super messy. Like, I've learned that it's just part of why I like to create, because, you know, in life you can't be that messy, or at least the way I was raised, I wasn't allowed, you know, messy was, you know, not good, be neat, be tidy. My job that I did for over 30 years was a real, you know, very, like, pristine. You have to do things a certain way. So when I make art, like, I don't want to really pay any attention to any rules. I don't want to be not messy. I want to be as free and open to self-discovery as I can be. And I love this. Yeah. Yeah, like this is all their pictures in my collage, and there it is. And I'll come back and maybe do some journaling up here or over here about the day, about the time, you know, but that's just for my kids someday as they find it. So anyways, yeah, there's just lots of cool stuff in here. And then there's pages with words. Some of the pages I've ripped out, as you can see. This one, you know, you find a book that turns, you know, lights you up. Here, you know, I was just working on this. April 26th. I had all these papers were already cut out. This page was in the book. This is part, you know, they're going into the solar system or something. I don't know. I haven't read the book. But I just had these papers. They were just random things that I had cut out. Because that's another thing I do when I need to find inspiration, is I will cut out things. I'll just take my scissors and cut out things that I think I would someday want to collage, stuff that I like, you know, from magazines or catalogs that I get online, you know, that I get in the mail or something. And so this was, I've had it a long time. This is a sticker. This is like a duplicate sticker. These are all papers that I cut out. This is magazine. I had this card from some journaling thing. More seed catalogs and rose books. Now see, this was a thicker one. And I think this is actually a Anna Griffin from my years of scrapbooking. I don't generally put the matte medium, and that's what I'm using. I didn't tell you that. Okay, so some kind of glue. I'm using matte medium. Mod Podge, rather. Not matte medium. It's matte in the View. I only use matte. I don't like glossy, shiny, or any of that stuff. But, and then magazine things. That's just what I'm saying. And then I just kind of did my watercolor. And it made me feel like I was using my creativity, but I didn't have to use a lot of energy. Sometimes I'm pretty low energy, so I just go with that. But that one is coming up. I need to put it down. So that's that, you know, and I just put some watercolor in there, and that was that one. And then I was feeling really wild with red because I don't use red very much, but I had this watercolor, and so I just filled in some of the cells. These are like cells in the book, and just put red, and then I glued this down. You know, it's whatever you want. This was a butterfly that I'd cut out. One of, I think it's one of, from Jovi's kit that I did that book, that journal on. So, yeah, and these are all flowers that I cut out from, whether it's seed catalogs or magazines or whatever, because I like flowers. So here's that. Sometimes I even do, you know, leaves in my books. But we need to find a page that we can put some of this down on. Let's use this. Carbon and oxygen. They're talking about, okay, carbon and oxygen. Let's go ahead and use this page. I got a little bit of that red watercolor, but that's okay. You know, no matter when I film, whether it's in the day, and see, I'm going to tell you, this is a pile, and what I do is this is going to be random. This is going to be so random. It's going to be whatever I pick up that feels like Kim wants to put it down. I'm telling you, it's so freeing just to let yourself go. And 5 years ago, I would have never done this in public. This would have been my own private activity. But you know what? This doesn't matter if you see me make this collage. And so I'm just going to be Kim. That's the only thing I know to be. This is fabric. This is part of my vintage 40s fabric. And I think I've told this story a lot of times, but I'm going to tell it here for this purpose. I was out at a thrift shop many years ago, probably, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, and found a basket of vintage, I think these are like 40s or 50s, at least I'm sorry, it's not in frame, forgive me. So 40s, like these fabrics are super old. And I am making a quilt. I have, from these small pieces, and probably as I'm looking at it on my design wall, there's pieces in it 1 inch width. And so, but my point in saying all that is I found the basket and I decided, hey, I'll take this. I took it home and washed it. It was filled with mouse poop. I washed it all out. And I have been creating things with that for years. But, you know, the quilt thing I just started, I don't know, last year. I don't know when I started that. But it's a lot of really teensy-weensy pieces that I'm sewing on my sewing machine. And I have it up to a size probably, I'm guessing, like 30 inches, 30 by 50. So it's a lot of sewing little pieces. It's just one of my projects that when I get in the mood, I'll work on that. There's a rose. What I'm doing is my hands are sticky, and so I'm trying to pull the little pieces of fiber, if you can't see that on there. So it does take more glue. If you decide to do this, I might suggest to you that you would use Elmer's glue, just something cheap. You know, use whatever you've got. It'll work, especially if you're just doing this for fun. I mean, it's not something that you're going to sell. It's just something you're just hanging out and you're just trying to get inspiration and you're just trying to get in the flow of things. So here's a nice piece of blue paper. Of course, all these are going to be small pieces. And normally I do not like collage in slant ways, if you will. I will generally put pieces either horizontal or vertical, just because it's easier on the eye. Okay, good. Here's some paper. Let's use some dictionary paper. It's sticking to my fingers. This is always fun to collage with because it's thin and old and it lays down really nicely. You don't have to fight it to lay down on your paper. Okay. But with the fabrics, as I was saying, the linear, whether it's horizontal or vertical or at a diagonal, I tend to, oh, this one we have a choice. We can go with pinks and oranges or blues and greens. I already started putting the glue here, so let's give it a pop of pink right here. Just papers that I've cut up or edges cut off. Here's from something I made with washi tape, so this whole piece is going down. And sometimes it's nice to leave the text. I mean, especially if you do the thing where, like Austin Kleon does, where he circles stuff, like the difficulty in defining the differences between a living person and a corpse. In terms of chemical composition, there are no well-defined differences. So, I mean, that could be, this is a biology book, remember, you know, as I'm reading that. So, yeah, you could leave something like that out. But I'm not really into that much thinking right now. Sometimes my art just needs to be completely no thinking, no rhyme or reason, just doing the process. And I'll be really honest with you, when I make art for play and I'm just pouring, if you can't see what I'm doing, I'm pouring some more of this Mod Podge out into my jar lid. That's what I use. I just use an old jar lid for that. And so, you know, sometimes if you're making something, you're kind of thinking and your left brain, right brain, you know, all that has to be working. And honestly, I need mine to rest sometimes. And that's what art does for me. It allows my brain to have rest. And that's why really I quit YouTubing for a while, because when I'm doing these kind of collages or painting or doing something and I'm speaking, my brain's not getting rest. So on this we have parcel delivery, parchment, pardonable pear, P-A-R-E, which says fruit. Oh yeah, this is French. This is from a French dictionary. Parchment. Yeah. Parental, parentage, parish, parentheses. Yeah, I forgot that. It was just a page out of that. Had that for a long time. So, here, look, I've got more pink and blue paper. So I'm going to put this down. And you see, before you know it, your collage, we're into 20 minutes here. Your collage is going somewhere. I mean, it's just a bunch of jumbled stuff right now, which I don't care for those colors, but you know what? I'm not going to allow myself to think about it too much. I'm just going to put that down, kind of covering it. And let it lay. And it'll make this page real crinkly for a while, but that's okay. When you close the book, it'll all flatten. Okay, here's a piece of, this is something I was doing on watercolor paper. And if you use watercolor paper in your collages, they're not that easy. You know, especially if you're using 140. I can't even think about using, I'm saying 140 pound papers. I didn't finish my sentence. But if you, I can't even think about using 300 pound paper. But yeah, this will stick down. Okay, got enough glue on it. Kind of leaving the arrows out, a little bit of writing. And I've got this old book page. Don't need that plainness. Let's cover that. And it says, the best thing he whispered, if we had our why. That's from a book from the 1800s. I've used it in many different things. And I actually got it at the same shop that I got the little fabric set. I used to shop there a lot. Cottage Antiques. They closed at the pandemic. Have you seen, did you have little favorite shops that you went into that closed due to the pandemic? And she couldn't get anybody to help her work because people were sick and such. Okay, let's dig into our paper pile here. Hey, look at that. I've got another mushroom. We could go mushroom themed after we get something down. Okay. Really don't want to make my video that much longer. You can go get your collage materials is the real key, and get a collage going. And oh look, here's a long strip. I like this, but it needs to be a little shorter. I want to kind of get a background, and then this, I could lay this over the background and then go around it with black charcoal. Maybe I'll do that. See, once it's just like the saying says, the more you use creativity, you can't use it up, the more it'll be there. And that's the whole purpose for starting something like this, for just being wonky and not really having a plan. You know, I don't plan my art to begin with, so YouTube videos are the most thing I plan. But the point I'm getting at is, you know, when you just allow yourself to create, and you go ahead and get your supplies out, or just, you know, random pick your stuff up off the floor and collage it, guess what? Your creativity will begin to flow. But I think starting is the hardest part. So there you have it. That's a nice colorful page. I think I'll put this down. Hey, thanks for showing up. I'm going to keep gluing things down until I get this covered or such. I might even paint over it. Sometimes I do that, just to get a base layer down. Hope you have a creative day.